No question about
We're
that.
not afraid of opinions. But first, can I give you something before we start?
Sure.
Okay. This is a pen that someone gave me. I'll tell you here in a second. You'll like the title here. It's business as usual with a red line through it, because I know that's what you talk about, getting rid of business as usual. This was from a veteran who was so frustrated about the VA. I saw this pin on him. I took it off, or he gave it to me. And, about a week later, about 100 of these showed up in a bag on my desk. He said, pass them out to everybody, because we can't have business as usual, because the last 8 years in Washington, D.C. have been a mess to this country.
Thank you. Mayor, you're running against long-term Senator Ted Stevens.
But I'm all, yes and no. I'm running to serve this state, serve the people of this state, not the Washington, D.C. The families of our lives, and not that
He's under indictment. Things are going pretty good for you. I mean, I'd have to say you're probably favored on that deal, aren't you?
Well, I'm not down there, that's for sure. But let me just say
Well, before you get going on that, I do think that
we've had a conversation on the radio once before, so we get going.
One of the criteria, and we didn't know that it was going to evolve to this in this country, but the vetting process, one of the criteria now is that we have to ask those candidates who are out there running for public office, one of the questions is, do you think you can stay out of jail? Mayor, do you think you can stay out of jail?
I'll say it again. Yes.
Okay. Are you going to win this race?
Fun. Absolutely. I would not get Folks know that when I get into races, sometimes they're long shots. I remember in 2003 when I got in the mayor's race, it was 15 years of Republican control of the city, running against an incumbent. No incumbent had ever lost in the city. And I got in 9 weeks before the election, 2 days before the filing deadline. Jumped in the race because people in this community, I could feel it. They wanted to see a different Anchorage and move this city forward. We got in, we worked hard, and at the end of the day, we won with 45.03, which is 18 votes of victory, enough to win. So I feel this race is absolutely I will give them
Now, we should point out that for 3 years during your tenure, Anchorage has been named one of America's 100 best communities for young people by America's Promise.
Thank you, and I will say this, the folks that put those applications together were young people who represented our city on a national level, and that's who won that award, and that's very good.
As a United States Senator, and you're hopefully going to win that spot, are you in favor of drilling for oil at Anwar?
Yes, I am. But, here's right. This is but what we're missing in this country is an energy policy, a real energy policy. It talks about renewable energies, talks about non-renewable conservation, new technologies. When I've talked about this issue of energy, what's amazing to me, this energy crisis we face here in Alaska, which this country faces, is because the Congress has not had the leadership to bring forward an energy policy that actually is meaningful. When I travel around the state, it is amazing to me to see the new types of energy that people are doing. Maybe tidal down in Dillingham or wind energy toward Kotzebue, or you go down to Southeast and see some incredible projects on hydro. We have incredible opportunities, but we have been focused in such hard partisan bickering with no results in Congress. And what I think has to happen is an Alaska senator who's a Democrat, part of the majority, can get back there and design and put forward a real energy policy for the next 30, 40 years, not something to just last 1 year.
So it would not be just oil?
No, you got to deal with renewable, non-renewable, conservation, and technologies. Here we are in a university, and there is amazing things happening in universities, at least in this community, but also around this country, where new technologies are being developed. But I'll give you one simple example. In Fairbanks, they're developing a battery that will help wind energy in order to store wind energy for a longer period of time. They're working on it, they're putting it together. But here's their problem. They've gone to the Energy Department and asked for a grant. And they said, well, out of their research and development money. And they said, well, wait until you prove it up, and then we'll give you some research development money. Now, I don't know what's wrong with that, but maybe research development money, to me, should be sampling these new technologies, because the future of this country is continuing to work toward energy independence, and it means all sources, but in a managed, careful way with a real plan.
Do you think that Anchorage Mayor and U.S. Senate candidate Mark Begich with us here on the Ed Schultz Show in Anchorage? Do you think Sarah Palin is qualified to be the Vice President of the United States?
You know, the Fairbanks paper asked me that, and here's what I said. Clear and simple. We're picking a president, and that's who we're running against. And that's who we need to be focused on. You know, I have to tell you this. When I look at Sarah...
So I take that as a no.
Well, let me say this about Sarah. They asked me a question, and I said, I don't know a lot about her international policies. Don't know much about her domestic policies. But I can tell you as a mayor what roads she likes, what projects she doesn't like. But at the end of the day, we have to focus and refocus this discussion back on who's running for president. Because we got a little distracted the last few years. And John McCain is just, again, this is the line everyone's going to keep hearing, 4 more years of George Bush. There's no question about it. That's what we got to get our eyes focused back on. There's a distraction happening right now. And we got to get back to who's running for president and hear the issues that they're going to do as presidential candidates.